Hello neighbor, I'm Robert Burns and welcome back to another edition of Sound Off Louisiana. And I trust that everyone had an enjoyable 4th of July holiday. I know it fell in the middle of the week and that always generates a little bit of confusion, at least on my part, because I genuinely felt like Tuesday evening was Friday and we were heading into a weekend. But perhaps I'm the only one who gets just such confusion in my mind when we have a holiday that falls in the middle of the week. But at any rate, it's good to be back with you, and I'm going to just a lot of what I'm wanting to present to you. It will be within the sound off piece itself, that is to say, the written commentary. But I'll just briefly say that Jim Mustian, who is an advocate reporter, about a month ago, put out an excellent article entailing alleged abuses of the DA diversion program, and the fact that at least one prominent group has filed an ethics complaint saying that that program is utilized for nothing but generating revenues for district attorneys, and that they're leveraging their authority in order to do so. And I'll briefly state, we give you the details. You may remember that back in January of last year, we did a feature entailing that same exact item, except we focused down on an individual micro level basis for a gentleman named Cody Boland, and we're going to give you the link for that. The commentary also fills you in on updating that for continued abuses by District Attorney Scott Perilou. But I just said that so I could say it briefly, and you could look for more detail by clicking on the links. Because I want to move on to today's feature, which would be that we have a former LSP trooper named Jimmy Rogers, who says that while the district attorneys are busy out there finding very creative ways in order to exploit the DA diversion program for the politically connected in order to raise revenue by way of it, that they are also in collusion with state police generating massive revenues through the LACE program. And when I say LACE, that's a local, I forget the exact acronym, but it basically is a tag team of district attorneys in concert with state police in order to enforce speeding infractions, wherein the district attorneys provide an incentive, and that's what Mr. Rogers alleges. In fact, what I'd like to do is go straight into, and we're going to provide it just beneath this video, a Facebook post that former Trooper Rogers made on Friday, July the 6th at a little after 11 a.m. And I make note of that because at the time I'm filming this, which is Sunday at about 5 o'clock p.m., obviously you can see the daylight, there had been 1,506 approximate Facebook shares of that post. Now that ought to, given that it's barely been 48 hours, a little over 48 hours since he made it, that ought to give you an idea of the degree to which it is spreading. And I will just say this, I have enough humility to admit this. I have never posted a Sound Off Louisiana feature that has been shared anywhere near 1,506 times in his lifetime, much less in 48 hours. So I said that to make sure that it sinks in the degree to which this is spreading and the degree to which people have an interest in it. And we're giving you the exact Facebook post blown up in JPEG format as well as some key statements that we believe he made that are highlighted. And we're going to go ahead and, as they would say, read it into the record because I think it warrants doing so. And so let me do that at this time. Like I said, certain elements of it are highlighted, and it's a lengthy post, but just bear with me. It says, "My name is Jimmy Rogers. As most of you have seen on the news lately, I used to be a Louisiana State Trooper. Note that I have not been a trooper since 2015. As a result of a very limited investigation into the LACE program, I was recently arrested and I pled guilty to 2 counts of malfeasance in office. I have stayed quiet during the duration of this situation. However, I feel like it is time to share my side of the story. My hope is not that you will feel sorry for me, but that it would spark an outcry for justice, an outcry for a real investigation. The investigation would reveal that Jimmy Rogers is only one of hundreds, if not thousands, of troopers who have done the same thing. I'm sure certain people and the guys from the Louisiana Voice and other media outlets will expect me to be angry and lash out at them. but I am not. The public is tired of dirty cops, dirty prosecutors, a dirty system, and specifically a dirty state police office. Ladies and gentlemen, so am I. Let me start out by saying this. I am guilty. I am guilty for participating in what, in my opinion, is a gross violation of your constitutional rights. You are being taxed without your knowledge. The district attorney's office dangles a few dollars in front of police officers, and in turn, those officers write a required amount of tickets. It is well known that the DAs only care that you give out 2 tickets for every hour he pays you for. The answer to the question everyone always asks, yes, that is a quota. If you do the math, he gives the cop 1/3 and pockets the rest of the money. The temptation to double your salary is just too hard to resist. John DeRosier, that's the district attorney for Calcasieu Parish, and his office have made millions of dollars on the backs of hard-working innocent Americans. I never thought of overtime this way until I married my beautiful wife of only a year ago. I've listened to her stories of struggle as a single mother, how 1 ticket could literally bury a person who struggles in poverty to feed their children. They are then forced to choose between paying a ticket or a light bill. Lose your lights or be buried under tickets that continue to pile up, or until you have no other recourse than to sit in jail or make payments for years. Why, you ask? For money. There is no requirement as to the location of these details. The DA will lie to you and say that the lace detail is to reduce crashes. However, police officers write the overwhelming majority of tickets in only a few, quote, speed trap, unquote, areas. If you are reading this and you have ever received a ticket with a little pink sticker on it, I'll bet my next paycheck that you either received the ticket near the I-10 or I-210 bridges, I-10 between the 210 interchange and Highway 171, or 110 near the Pete Mania exit to Westlake. As a matter of fact, the trooper who investigated me, in quotes, was even known for working lace in that exact spot. However, he used a car that didn't have a video recorder, as did most detectives and supervisors, so I am sure he will get away with his indiscretions. Would you like to guess why we did that in those locations? Because it was easy. Troopers get the required amount of tickets quick, steal your money, and then watch movies on the side of the road, which is exactly what I did and what I was arrested for, open parentheses, and I should have been arrested for, close parentheses. A thorough and detailed investigation into every trooper in the entire state over the life of the LACE program will prove that I was far from the only offender. In fact, it is literally a common practice, a practice literally taught to me as a rookie trooper. As a trooper, you are taught to stop working an hour or 2 before your shift. Every trooper worth his salt will tell you that they heard the phrase, quote, a good trooper is in his driveway by 3. You better not break this rule and start making traffic stops after 3. If you did, you would be verbally reprimanded by your supervisors and your peers. The LACE program is a program with a spotlight. However, it is absolutely not the only program in existence. Take the overtime DWI detail, for instance. Did you know that the DA's office pays police officers overtime to sit at DWI checkpoints? They don't even have to show an arrest. They get to show up and participate a little bit and then go home with your money. Of course, they say they are looking for insurance and other violations, but they specifically call it the DWI detail. As many as 20 cops will show up there to these details and collect money and then go home without breaking a sweat. How about the seatbelt detail? Bet you never heard of that one. Same story. You get 2 seatbelt tickets an hour to earn your overtime. The crappy thing is, again, no one sits in the areas of high crash statistics. They sit in Moss Bluff or Lake Charles or Westlake so they can catch you driving out of McDonald's with your seatbelt, without your seatbelt on. It's literally the only way to even catch a seatbelt violator because they are going slow enough for you to see. I know that I risk a backlash from the DA and the twist system, but it's worth it to me. I can imagine, quote, my brothers in blue, unquote, will be quite upset with me, none of whom were standing in line behind me to admit their wrongdoing while I was forfeiting my rights and taking my lick. I can only tell you that I am truly sorry for having been a part of a system that has failed you. I am truly sorry for allowing greed to control my actions as a person who was supposed to protect you from people like that. Who knows? Maybe they silence me. Maybe you are okay with them sacrificing me as a tribute to a massive injustice. Or maybe you may say enough is enough and demand real change. I know I've typed a lot and I have so much more. Maybe I will bore you more in the future. However, I urge you to share this story. Demand your constitutional rights be defended. God bless. Now, obviously he said quite a bit in that, and I guess the irritating thing is the documented evidence that I have that these district attorneys are bending over backwards to engage in political favoritism and exploit the DA diversion program. Now, arguably, the motorist who sped, I mean, if you sped, you sped and probably get a ticket. However, I have a very reliable retired trooper, he won't mind me using his name, Bucky Miet, who has emphatically told me that's not supposed to be the aim. It's not supposed to be the aim to maximize revenues, and yet there can be no question that if what former Trooper Rogers alleges, that is a quota system designed to maximize the benefits to the district attorneys. And, you know, there recently was a news feature of Hiller Moore saying he's having to lay off staff. You know, perhaps we need to change the entire way in which district attorneys' offices are funded, because I can only tell you how disgusting it is to me to see what I have provided to you, and you can easily see by looking on the links with regard to Cody Boland. Because, I mean, the most recent arrest involved domestic violence and child endangerment. And yet I have no doubt that Scott Perilou will do as he has done so many other times and either flat out dismiss the charges or engage in a sham district diversion program. That it's very obvious that he's not going to, not to mention the fact you're only supposed to be eligible for one. All you got to do is click on the links and see how many times Cody Boland has been in this type of situation, and only for Perilou to either dismiss the charges or make some statement that he's been in a sham diversion program for which he should not even be eligible. But I will say this, and we provided you the link with it, this certainly goes far beyond the statements that Trooper Darrell Thomas made at the Louisiana State Police Commission of June 14, 2018, in which he said he's being singled out to be made an example of, because he said this has been going on, it's rampant throughout Louisiana State Police. And Rogers has taken that to a whole new level and basically saying everybody does it. And I don't know if his statements are true or not. I know one thing, they're catching a lot of attention, and I have been told there's a lot of anxiety amongst state troopers as a result of this post because of the belief that it is accurate and true. And it's probably going to place the State Police Commission in a precarious position. But I want to say one other thing. You know, people have asked me how I could have been so presumptuous as to have created a JBE fraud website a month prior to Governor Edwards being sworn into office. And the reality is I could be so presumptuous because of the agreements he had to make with the very element that perpetuate this, okay? The most noteworthy example of which was the Sheriff's Association's insistence that Mike Edmondson be reappointed as state police colonel. Well, by then we all knew what kind of an operation he was running. It just gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse as time goes on, now that he's no longer there to try to help prop it up. But it was a pandemic. Look how pandemic it is, okay? But here's what's even more troubling, okay? The replacement for Mike Edmondson, Colonel Kevin Reeves. I've been told by a source that I know knows what he's talking about, says he was over patrol for the state, okay? So the old saying about the buck stops here, no wonder Kevin Reeves is just kind of slumped over and trying to give answers when Lee Zurich asks questions. His posture alone demonstrates his uneasiness, and you know, there ought to be an outrage there, yet you don't see it from him. And I would submit perhaps the reason you don't see it from him is because the finger would be pointed directly at him, okay? So for those who are under the belief that we've got a new and improved state police system, I'm here to tell you we don't, okay? And I will also share with you that I have received anonymous letters in the mail naming specific troopers and naming alleged actions that would make what Mr. Rogers and some others have been identified for seem like child's play. And the troopers have been named. And we'll be delving into that to the fullest degree that we can. But what is so infuriating is, why isn't Kevin Reeves doing that? So Colonel Reeves, you might want to check up on just what type of a ship you're running, because I would hate for even more media embarrassments to be coming your way in the very near future. I want to thank everyone for having tuned in to this edition of Sound Off Louisiana. I trust you will find it fascinating. And we'll be bringing you the next Sound Off Louisiana feature. You may remember some time back we gave you the presentation of the pro-St. George crowd looking to form a separate city within Baton Rouge. Well, tomorrow the guest speakers at the Baton Rouge Press Club will be the anti-St. George crowd. And certainly we believe in equal time and equal opportunity, so we will have the statements that they make as our next Sound Off feature. Once again, I hope everyone has enjoyed a happy 4th of July holiday, and we look forward to bringing you our next feature entailing the opponents to the St. George movement in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Thank you once again.